Welcome back to the Watchman, a continuous study on the book of Esther. Just to recap before we jump into chapters 8 and 9, the first lesson that we went over, the basic overview was God's sovereign hand in unseen ways. We have the king of Persia holding a grand feast for lasting 180 days, and then close to the end he asks his queen Vashti to come. She refuses. She gets thrown out and exiled from the position. So therefore a search for a new queen begins, and we know that Esther, a Jewish orphan raised by her cousin Mordecai, is chosen, even though she keeps her Jewish identity a secret. And she found favor with the king, was chosen, and then we also have this uncovering of a plot by her cousin Mordecai, where people tried to assassinate the king. But before that could take place, Queen Esther informed through Mordecai's unveiling of this, the plot which led to the conspirators' execution. Then we have chapters 3 and 4. We learned that Esther was positioned for purpose. Haman, an official elevated by the king of Persia, becomes enraged when Mordecai refused to bow to him. So Haman convinces the king to issue a decree ordering the annihilation of all Jews in the Persian Empire on a specific date, and the decree was then sent out. And we know that this took place from a lot, which we will learn more about very soon. Mordecai mourns the decree, urges Esther to intercede with the king, but she's hesitant because going to the king without being summoned could result in her death. He reminds her that she too will not escape this decree, as she is Jewish as well, and basically tells her that perhaps she has become queen for such a time as this. Esther decides to act, but is a little hesitant, so she asks her cousin Mordecai and all the Jews to fast for 3 days while she prays and prepares to approach the king. We then have in chapters 5 through 7, bold faith in the face of fear, where Esther finally has the courage to go before the king. But the first time, instead of making her request, she says, no, I'm really here to just invite you to a banquet. Then at that first banquet, she's still nervous and asks for the king to come to a second banquet, where we know that she finally has the bold faith and courage to tell him what's going on in this plot that Haman has been forming. And the king is enraged, orders Haman to be hanged on the very gallows that he prepared for Mordecai. However, before that, we also have to, before all that went on, a very important part is that the king was unable to sleep. So the royal records were read to him, unveiling that he learned Mordecai once saved his life, but was never rewarded for this. So he asked, this is very hilarious, he asked Haman how he would reward such a person, thinking it was him, and he says, well, he should get the royal treatment. And then he finds out that the king actually told Haman to do this and honor Mordecai in that way instead, which obviously made him very, very jealous. So then we learn that true faith often requires risk. Now we are in chapters 8 and 9, where we have the reversal of evil. Okay. In chapters 8 and 9, the reversal of evil. Esther pleads with the king to reverse the decree against the Jews, but Persian law cannot be revoked. Instead, the king allows Mordecai to write a new decree permitting the Jews to defend themselves in battle. The decree is sent throughout the empire, bringing joy to the Jews, and many non-Jews align with them out of fear. On the appointed day, from the cast lot, the Jews successfully defend themselves, killing their enemies, including Haman's 10 sons. In Susa, they fight for an extra day. The festival of Purim is established to commemorate their deliverance. Now, just a quick overview of 8 and 9. Just when it seemed that evil would eventually triumph, God reversed the situation, and the enemy's plans backfired, and the Jews were victorious, showing that God can turn even the darkest situations in our lives into awesome triumphs. If you look at chapter 8, verse 16, it reads, "For the Jews there was light and gladness and joy and honor." So we have here that they were just astounded by God's divine hand behind the scenes orchestrating their great deliverance. In chapter 9, verse 1, we have, "Now in the 12th month, that is, the month Adar, on the 13th day when the king's command and edict were about to be executed, on the day when the enemies of the Jews hoped to gain the mastery over them, it was turned to the contrary, so that the Jews themselves gained the mastery over those who hated them." So they overcame their adversaries, overcame this deceitful plan that Haman had whipped up. The main point here, God is able to turn situations around, bringing justice and victory for his people. Just when it seemed that Haman would succeed in destroying the Jews, God orchestrated a dramatic reversal. Haman was executed on the very gallows he had prepared for Mordecai, and the king's new decree allowed the Jews to defend themselves, leading to a great victory. What the enemy meant for harm, God used for good. No matter how dire our circumstances may seem, God has the power to bring redemption. He can turn suffering into joy, turn oppression into freedom, and turn defeat into victory. We can trust that his justice will ultimately prevail. So again, this was the whole reversal of evil because Esther was bold in her faith in the face of fear, which God has positioned her for that purpose because God's sovereign hand was behind this whole thing. So I hope you are encouraged again by this short little recap of the book of Esther. Next time will be the closing of Esther chapter 10, so read it. I'll give a quick little recap at the end. So until then, take care, God bless, and be strong.